Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hashim with US Arab Radio. Happy Friday. We have a great show for you today. As you well know, the biggest story at the end of the year, in addition to the holidays, the biggest story at the end of the year is the economy. What kind of an economy we've had so far? And are the holidays going to make up for the economy? What's going on? And then on the micro level for people, what's really going on? What is the outlook for next year? What how well have we done? Inflation, jobs, etc. And with us this morning is Dr. Vivek Singh. He's a full professor of finance at the University of Michigan Dearborn. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Khalil.
Absolutely. So where are we? What's going on? What's going on with the economy?
So, Khalil, things surprisingly, in my opinion, have been better than expected. The way we started the year, with all the uncertainty which was unleashed through our new president's tariff wars. So there was a lot of apprehension
Hmm.
amongst businesses, amongst people, rest of the world as to which way, how it's going to pan out. But surprisingly, the things have been somewhat better than expected, uh, in the sense that we did grow this year. Like there was close to around 2% growth that we registered, and and the job market, even though it's somewhat soft as of now, but it's not terrible.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like people there. I say that in the sense that not many new jobs are being advertised, but at the same time, not many people are getting laid off either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is some, it's a kind of a weird job market where people have the job, but people have some apprehension that they might lose the job. But at least as of now, people are holding on to the job, and even though the new jobs are not being brought to the market as many, but things are not terrible. And as far as the interest rates go in general, the interest rates are headed downwards. They've already gone down a little bit, and I expect that they will continue to go down in the next couple of months. So by the time the next year comes, like around the same time, my guess is my best guess. Of course, I could be totally wrong, but my best guess is could be anywhere around 75 basis point to 100 basis point lower than what they are today.
Sure. 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 The growth wasn't big, but at least we had a growth this year. And
Absolutely.
surprisingly, as you mentioned, in addition, I mean, at the time where we have tariffs and we have all of these different factors that the uncertainty that we live in, um, is this something that we're still riding on the success we had prior to President taking over President Trump?
So, Khalil, could you elaborate on that question?
Like, I mean, yeah, regardless of the time when President Biden was in power, uh, President Trump inherited, a somewhat good economy. Is this like still going, and like this coming year, then we're gonna see the effects of what President Trump is doing?
So, Khalil, I think that it's a great question, Khalil. It's a great
Yeah.
question. Uh, I would say that the economy was in very good shape. Like when President Biden left and President Trump came in. On one hand, like Trump, you can find faults with Trump with respect to his tariff war,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think everybody knows that he's pro deregulation. So that has helped businesses a lot. Secondly, like the big tax reforms that he was able to push through, which was supposed to expire, but that has become more or less permanent. And so that has again helped businesses quite a bit. And even on the tariff front, I mean, it looked far worse when we started. People had no idea what level of tariffs we are going to be seeing. But there is a lot of walking back that President Trump has done on that. So
Yeah.
things are not as bad as they thought they would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we have been able to make some bilateral agreements with many of the big economies. I know like China is still like work in progress, India is still like work in progress, but still. So there is some positive development on that side also. So we expected the tariffs to be like maybe sky high, but tariffs have gone up substantially, but again, not at the same level as we expected
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
start of the year.
Yeah. It seems that, the and correct me if I'm wrong, the in on the individual level, people have not bulked badly at well, prices have increased, you know, and this is the president who campaigned on bringing prices down, and prices went up, and but people, I mean, I was looking at the spending during the holidays. People spend a lot of money. I was really surprised.
So, Khalil, yeah, this is a conundrum of some kind. Like people have been complaining about prices, but actually, again, if you look at the hard data, the prices have gone up, but I mean, in comparison to like what they were like 5 years back, they have definitely gone up. But again, like where they were at the start of 2022, like it's come down to 3%, 3% maybe too high. But like historically, like these are not terrible price increases, quite
Yeah.
frankly. And at the same time, if you look at the wage growth, which people don't talk about it, people seldom talk about it, but wage growth has been strong,
Yeah.
especially for those people at the lowest income levels. So, and that's probably part of the reason like why we see all that spending which we see in
I
during the
know. I know.
holiday.
And
Yeah,
now they're talking about sharing the tariffs revenues with
yeah,
the public,
yeah.
and they may have put the brakes on that because Costco is suing the government for the tariffs because the court said what you did was not legal. And if other big stores go ahead and they go ahead and sue the government, that's going to put the government is in a bind in a way. What I'm afraid of, and this is the question, could if President Trump, to please people, if he sends those checks to the homes, are we gonna suffer the same? Is that gonna affect inflation like what Biden did?
Yeah, Khalil, I could agree with you. Like, I mean, anytime you start giving these checks in the pockets of people, a lot of those checks are going to be spent, and that's absolutely is going to add on to the inflationary pressures which are there.
Yeah,
And at the same time, like, I mean, we already have this a problem on fiscal deficit that's going to worsen that too. So on one hand, like we've already decided to reduce taxes, then we already have spending problem. On top of that, you add on this more spending,
yeah,
so
yeah,
which leads to all kinds of issues, not just the inflation, then about the cost of borrowing for the
exactly.
government, which
Yeah.
trickles down to everyone.
Yeah. I wish they give a break to businesses to lower prices instead of giving it to people since we finally get some kind of a handle on inflation. I think it's unwise for the president to, and I know this is not a popular thing because when you send people money, they're happy, you know. So it would, in the long term, it would make more money to give breaks to businesses so they can lower prices than giving it to people.
Well, I mean, on the face of it, sounds like a good idea, but I'm not sure whether it has been done successfully anywhere, like where you start incentivizing businesses to lower the prices.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, only for this time because of I mean, instead of giving this money to individuals, find a way where they can make products cheaper is better than lowering prices than giving it to people.
I mean, the only, I mean, you can't give, I mean, I'm just thinking like while I'm talking, like I think I mean, by reducing the corporate tax liability, there is already an incentive. You can do a lot more on deregulation. So
Yeah,
those are the kinds of levers which the government has to help businesses lower the prices automatically. The businesses themselves, like they will charge whatever they can charge.
yeah,
And so, in fact, like these days, Khalil, you might be hearing about dynamic pricing. So there is no fixed price. Like people will we'll be paying all kinds of prices going forward very
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. So we're discussing with Dr. Vivek Singh the current state of the economy, and I think growth was 1.6% GDP. Is that something like that?
Somewhere around 2%, my guess is.
Yeah, yeah, it's something like 2%. You
Yeah.
know, so and inflation is really inching toward. I think it's like 2.6, which is it's below 3, which is really good. Um, the Feds did drop the rates twice, which is quarter point, I think twice or three times. And do you think they might drop it again?
Yeah, Khalil, it's very likely. The most recent, given the way job market is, like, as I said, like the job market is not terrible, but the things are not moving in the right direction. Like, in the sense that, like, number of job openings have gone down. So, given that fact that job market, if we don't do anything, the job market may actually, the unemployment rate may increase suddenly. So, I think because of that, I think the Fed has it, at least to my reading, is the Fed has decided, actually, I think inflation at the current time is not as big a risk as the unemployment is. So we have to do something about the interest rates, lower the interest rates to help the businesses, the consumers, uh, to lower the cost of borrowing and all the positive things that happen when when the cost of borrowing is lower. So I expect the interest rates to go down next week, and I see like more cuts to happen in the next year. Again, assuming that nothing crazy happens from now
Yeah,
and next year.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I like to remind our listeners, when we're talking about the interest rate, that's the federal interest rate. That's banks charge, the government charge banks. And that's added to that whatever banks charge you, and that affects loans, credit cards, buying cars, buying homes. It affects a lot of things. It also affects businesses when their loans reset with a new term. Currently in the housing market, the current mortgage rate is between 6 and 7, still like 6.1, 6.2. We like to see it, below 6. If it is between 5 and 6, that's going to help the housing market, and it's going to help everybody. So hopefully that they do that. And I've heard there's expectations, and the president is pushing very hard for the Feds to drop interest rate by 0.5%, which will be a boost.
Yeah. Uh, Khalil, I don't think it would happen in the next meeting, but as I said, like in the next couple of meetings, like I expect, like, again, the same continuation, like
Yeah,
0.25,
yeah,
0.25.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and I think he is pretty much like, even the Fed chair, like Jerome Powell, like he has come to agreement that I think we need to do something about the interest rates. And inflation is still like higher than what the Fed likes, 2%, but it hasn't breached 3%. It has been around 3% or thereabouts. And given the job market being not terrible, I think we can afford
yeah.
some help. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand 2% is ideal, but anytime when you're between 2 and 3, that's and correct me if I'm wrong, that's always a
Yeah.
good target.
Yeah.
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 I assume in other factors also also there to help us. So it's not as black and white, it's not about number. And interestingly enough, the first time they cut rates did not really affect mortgages at all. And we just could not, I mean, maybe because there was a small, very small decrease, but morally it did, but it didn't really affect. As you well know, I'm in the housing market, and I work as a realtor, so this is why I'm saying that. It just did not affect it. Although over time, the second one and the third one, there's some effect to it, and then the hope that it would change.
Yeah. I agree, Khalil. I remember the first cut which happened like sometime early in the second half of the year, I think September or something, like when it did not September. Sorry. I think it was sometime last year, if I recall. So when it happened, it did not do anything to the long-term interest rates. They did drop for 1 or 2 days, but they reverted back to where they were. I think the reason at that time was people were not convinced that there is these rate cuts would persist, given that inflation was still high, it wasn't coming down. So I think they weighed the the inflationary pressures to be much bigger risk than the job market. So I think the markets read it correctly at that time. I think there was no need uh, to do that. I mean, the inflation was still very stubbornly high, and the job market was in a much better shape. So people didn't expect these rates to persist, like these rate cuts to persist. In fact, like by cutting rates, they expected inflation to jump higher,
Hmm.
which in
Hmm.
turn
Hmm.
boosts the expected interest rates going forward.
Yeah. Speaking of unemployment, I mean, right now it's at 4.5, which is not bad. But recently I've been hearing a lot more about people looking for jobs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a time when there was like three openings per job applicant, but there is demand on the very lower part of the economy, which is this is what was filled by immigrants or illegal immigrants, and that used to these jobs. There's definitely need there, but other than that, I mean, 4.5. Then that number is not bad, but there is some kind of a tension in the job market. Don't you see that?
Absolutely, Khalil, I agree. I mean, yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think that, I mean, by itself, 4.2, 4.3 is not a bad number historically. I mean, I think many countries would would be very envious
Love
of
to
this
have
kind of
that,
number.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and even historically, this number hasn't is a great number. But at the same time, I mean, it's the job market is not heading in the right direction. It's in terms of the number of new job openings are not increasing at the same pace as the number of people who are looking for jobs. So on one hand, like in some sense, like because of this all this deportation and uh, borders being literally closed as far as southern border is concerned, so that has reduced the labor supply. So which in some weird sense is helping.
Yeah, yeah,
Like we are, I mean, the number of jobs are fewer, but like the number of people looking for jobs are not as many. So the
yeah,
labor supply has gone down when
yeah,
the demand for labor has
yeah,
gone down. So
yeah,
there is a weird sort of equilibrium there.
yeah. The lack of reporting because of the shutdown, we didn't get numbers from the government. Um, Normally, when the President Trump, is talking tough about certain things, to me, is like, what are you trying to hide? And I'm not sure if he's hiding some bad news in regard to those statistics because we don't have them. That to me, that's a concern because he's like when these numbers come out, it's easier to play with people's emotions against immigrants and then talk about serious stuff like bad numbers.
I mean, that I agree with what happened with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the chief getting fired for giving the wrong message about this, the state of the economy. And uh, but the shutdown, like I can't entirely blame President Trump for this. Like it happened because of the Congress, the gridlock that we have seen in the Congress for now decades, where I mean, every time there is a thing like this, then depending upon who is in the White House, the other party will make it difficult. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so, so I'll blame the both the parties for this
yeah,
actually. Yeah. So, and I do agree when the numbers are not there, like it becomes even more difficult
yeah, yeah,
for Fed to do anything. As I mean, recently I was reading somewhere that a Fed chair, he made a comment that like without having those kind of numbers, like we are basically sort of driving in the fog. And I would say like we are just shooting in the dark. Like we don't know
yeah,
like
yeah,
whether the job market is doing better, whether the inflation is rising or decreasing, or like what is the pace. So you just it's very difficult. I mean, you
yeah,
can you're getting some picture like through private numbers. Those private numbers are like very unreliable, like and they don't, and many of these numbers they contradict each other. So like we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So so
Do you think if a war breaks out with the in South America, would that affect the economy?
absolutely, Khalil, any war is bad.
Yeah.
Any war is bad. Of course, like certain sectors of the economy will benefit, like the defense sector, which is already getting a big boost actually. But like in general, it takes away all the resources that should be deployed elsewhere. And of course, it's going to be a big cost to the federal government. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you
just
add on all
amazing.
the uncertainties, like to businesses, like I mean, the gasoline prices and like the prices of commodities in general, everything goes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you surprised how cheap gasoline is?
Yes.
I'm pleasantly surprised, but I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
my God, I mean, this is the holidays
Yeah.
and then, it's, I mean, yesterday I filled up for 239. I mean, we haven't seen that for a long time.
We haven't seen that for a long time. I mean, they're back up today again, but like again, that they're much lower than what they used to be.
Yeah.
And my guess is like if we can bring this Ukraine and Russian war to an end, I I think the prices will come down even more.
Even more. Yeah. 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 So what's the outlook for next year? What should
So,
we
Khalil,
expect?
I think the economy will not be great, but like they will not. I expect the growth rate to come down a little bit, but not by much. So maybe around from two to maybe 1.5 to one around somewhere two, like maybe 1.7, something like that. And the reason why I'm very optimistic is because I think this a lot of uncertainty with respect to tariffs is is behind us in some sense, that people have learned to adapt, or the people know that okay, what president is up to doing. So that is one thing. And then I talked about all these trade agreements that we have been able to execute. That has helped. Secondly, I think the interest rates will continue to drop in the foreseeable future, which should be a big help to the economy. And of course, these tax breaks that businesses are going to be enjoying going forward, that should help in more investments. And the biggest thing that we did not talk about, this AI, the big build out which is
Yes.
happening
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
that is actually, I mean, even this year, like that is what has helped the economy to hum and like go go along with despite all this uncertainty, because we are spending like gangbusters, the amount of money which is going in. And I expect this build out will continue next year and even going forward.
Hmm. Hmm.
So a lot of literally trillions of dollars are being invested. And I think this right now, much of the investment is happening in maybe Western Europe and US and China, but I think this will spread to other countries. And when that happens, I think that's going to be good for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And I hope that it would not become like a bubble. China could come up with I mean, right now you can use some Chinese AI stuff for almost for free. And because it becomes a bubble in the US and then China decides to offer it for free, that's going to burst that bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, Khalil, I mean, there is always with any new technology, like be it railways or like internet, I think there is some overinvestment that does happen. But in the end, I think of course, not everybody will survive. Some
Yeah.
will survive, but the
Yeah.
technology, the fruits of the technology will be reaped by everyone. So, I mean, everybody will benefit. I
Sounds
know there will be some winners and losers.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, as you said, it just hopefully that they continue cutting the rates and they get a handle on inflation and they may not be registered great growth, but at the end of the day, as long as people are working, that's what it comes down to. People have jobs. They're gonna keep their home, they're gonna keep their car, they're gonna keep everything else. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know about the economy for next year?
Nothing comes to mind. I think now the big thing is like who's going to be the next Fed chair, and
Yeah,
does he really? I mean, some name is being talked about. I think Kevin Hassett. I think most likely he will be the Fed chair, and I'm just worried that he should not be taking the orders from the White House as to when to cut interest rates. If that were to happen, I think that would be a total disaster. But I remain cautiously optimistic that he's a good economist at the end of the day,
sure.
despite his party affiliations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for being with us, and we pray and we hope that next year the economy is better than this year, and there's a handle on all of these different issues, and no war in South America, and the interest rates is better, and tariffs. I hope that we get to a point where we have some stability there. So we hope to do that. So again, I want to thank you for being with us, and I want to wish you happy New Year and happy holidays.
Thank you, Khalil. Wish you the same. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.